This is a true crime discussions channel. We speculate. This is all just speculation. Because it's true crime, it's for mature audiences only. There will be no children allowed, no exceptions. Everything on this channel falls under fair use. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's free.
Hey y'all, how you doing today? It is Good Friday, Black Friday. Have y'all went shopping? I went out earlier just to get some pajamas and stuff for the kids. They need, the kids always needing socks and underwear and pajamas and things. So I went out earlier and got some things like that. I got my youngest, my second youngest. She loves Harry Potter, so I found her a Harry Potter hoodie that was like $11. Anyway, I wanted to say hey to y'all. Hey, Jenny Jen, I hope you're doing okay, lovely. Content Angel, Zio, Bad Girl, Anders, Baby Girl. What's up, Baby Girl? And Toxic Orchid, True Crime Addict. Hey, y'all. So nice to see you today. So, hey, Kitty. Hello, Kitty. Every time, I'm sure you're already aware of this, but every time I say your name, I think about Hello Kitty. Actually, the pajamas, I went and bought pajamas for the kids, and one set was Hello Kitty because I love Hello Kitty too. Yes, it is Black Friday. I said Good Friday. It is not Good Friday. So, today we're going to talk about JonBenet Ramsey. Now, again, I will remind you, I have to be careful about what I play. I found lots of stuff about it. This happened when I was young, like real young. But she was a beauty queen. Her mother had wanted to be a beauty queen. I remember because I've dug into this case before. And her mother had wanted to be a beauty queen, but was unable to. So she was like living vicariously through her daughter and had her daughter doing it. And she was just absolutely beautiful. That child was absolutely stunning. And it is a cold case to this day. They still, like, they're suspects, but they're still kind of trying to figure out who did it. They state that the brother could have had something to do with it, but I don't like that theory because he was really young at the time. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that he had anything to do with it. I know it had something to do with a bowl of pineapples or something that was on the table. Hey, Jenny Finn. They say, accountants would say today's the last day to get out of the red. Okay. I do too. I thought they were cute, Zio. I did a couple. I'm working on a background that's like several different pages. I'm just trying to figure out what to make it say and working on that. Okay, so with that, we will get into this first video. This one is, of course, Court TV. It's titled Vinnie Politan Investigates the Unaliving of JonBenet Ramsey. Thank you. Thank you, Zio. I found them on a Canva. That was one somebody else has made. I didn't even have to do anything. Just upload it.
The Vinnie Politan investigates in the world of true crime. There is one story, one case that for more than 2 decades has continued to fascinate the public and absolutely frustrate investigators. I'm talking about the murder of little JonBenet Ramsey back in 1996.
Look how beautiful she was. And this is a crime that shook the country. The whole country was invested in this. And I mean, in 1996, I would have been 9 years old. Okay. So I wasn't much older than her, yet I remember this case. This is one of the cases that got me into true crime, along with several others. Jenny Finn asked, did anyone watch the Netflix on her yet? I did last night. I have not seen it yet. I've heard it's really interesting, and that's kind of why I wanted to go back over the stuff that we can find on YouTube about it. Toxic Orchid said the pineapple was Burke's and pineapple was found in JonBenet's stomach. Yes, I remembered something like that. And like she didn't eat pineapple, or she was allergic to it or something. Bad Girl says, no, I haven't watched it, but I heard opinions on it. Toxic said they're going to watch it in As the Gavel Drops Discord. Content said this would be solved by now if the police in their town weren't so inept. Bad girl says yes. I mean, not bad girl. Baby girl says she was a beautiful child.
When you think about what happened here, it seems like a very solvable case. The crime scene was fairly small and contained. It was John Bonet's home. And the killer left a note, a very bizarre ransom note. So from the beginning, it seemed that it should be very possible to figure out where this note came from because of the handwriting and the very peculiar information inside. But as we know, the case hasn't been solved, and still today, everyone is wondering, who wrote the note? I've been covering the story on my weeknight show, Closing Arguments, and what you're about to see are some of the most important moments from that program as I investigate the murder of John Benet Ramsey and the infamous ransom note.
Now, this ransom note has come up quite a bit. I know they compared handwriting, and somebody thought, something I was watching, thought that it looked like the father's, and were suggesting that maybe the father was involved somehow. Maybe something happened while he was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing, and he did that to cover up the unaliving. I don't believe that. I think that they're all victims, but I did remember hearing that. Yeah, that's super sweet. Jenny, I know I'm so sorry about what you're going through. Toxic said that her thoughts and prayers are with you. And Bad Girl said, because of him, so many others can live. That's so precious. And I'm so sorry for your family's heartache. I just wanted you to know that. Okay, Toxic heard that it was Patty's writing. I had heard that it was the father and something. But, I don't even remember. That's been years ago. So what would be the theory if the mother wrote it then? If y'all know, let me know.
It's the highest profile unsolved case in the nation. It's been the subject of many theories and investigations, none of which have resulted in a successful arrest. On December 26, 1996, 6-year-old John Benet Ramsey was found dead in her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. Her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, had reported her missing early that morning. Patsy Ramsey found a lengthy, handwritten ransom note in the house addressed to her husband, John. About 7 hours after police arrived to investigate the kidnapping, John Benet's body was found hidden behind a latched door in the basement of the home. And now, a convicted pedophile has written incriminating letters. His name is Gary Oliva. Tonight, we will take a look at those letters and the original ransom note with our experts to see if the handwriting is a match. Plus, we'll speak live with the man who received those letters from Oliva as we investigate the unsolved murder of John Benet Ramsey.
I want to get the backstory on this man, Gary Oliva, and the friend, classmate he was writing to. What's the story behind the letter, behind this confession? And so joining me tonight, folks, from Ventura, California, the man who received those letters from Gary Oliva, his former classmate, Michael Vale. Michael, I just didn't know how to describe it. I didn't want to say friend, but like he's sending you letters, and I know classmate, acquaintance. How would you describe your relationship now and years ago with this man, Gary Oliva?
Well, really, there's three parts to that story. The first part would be pre-96. The second part, then there would be 96, and then anything after 2016. But in the beginning, I went to a very small high school. Everybody knew everybody there. And Gary was what we called an orbiter. He just would orbit around our groups and stuff. So we were classmates. We knew everybody at school. There's probably 75 to 100 kids there at any given time. It was a rather small school.
Okay, so you describe him as an orbiter. Was he always a little different? Was there always did you and your classmates sense that one of these classmates is not like the other?
Well, we didn't really. We were just kids. We didn't really know about that stuff. I didn't have any idea. We have a naivety, at the time, being just young kids. But of course, we knew there was something wrong with Gary. In fact, we called him Scary Gary.
That's interesting. So that would take me into questioning, since we know he's a convicted pedophile, if it's something that can be picked up on at a younger age. Just kind of going on a sidebar over here, since they called him Scary Gary. Did he do it because, like, had it been in his mind all the time to be a pedophile, or is it something that just happened due to a mental disorder? But back to this. Baby girl said, my mom always thought it was their Santa. I heard it was the mom because they said it was the exact amount of John's bonus and it could be her handwriting. Thank you for saying that. I remember now that the dad's bonus, the Christmas bonus, was the amount of the ransom note. See, I appreciate y'all. Yes, because, and then Jen said, but how did someone know the amount of his Christmas bonus, which is weird, right? So it had to be somebody very close to the family. I'm wondering if it was someone John knew or acquainted with. And then Bad Girl says, true, but that bonus was from the year before and was on his pay stubs. Oh, interesting. I do remember also that they had recently had a Christmas party and a bunch of people were in and out of the house. It is weird. And then Jen said, I heard an interview with the dad this morning as far as what he thinks happened. Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to try to play it, but I don't know if they'll copyright me. I'm going to try after this. Hey, Tiana.
He was known for breaking into places and getting art supplies. I mean, he could break in and steal things, but he was definitely into stealing art supplies and things of that nature. When I heard about the paintbrush, things like that, there's so many points that I have here. I have 25 points of what I would call circumstantial evidence.
Okay,
that's crazy. Hey, JR Girl 22. JR Girl 22 said he had an office at home. Thank you for that. And Tiana, I said hey to you, love. I didn't know if you could hear me because I was talking when I played the video.
Let's get to that in just a minute. I just want to focus on how we got to these letters. So let's start with when does he start writing to you, and what is the sort of the nature of the communication, and is it a back and forth, or is it a sort of a one-way street here?
Well, right after high school, I went off, got married, went to college, all that good stuff, and Gary stayed in touch with the mail, the U.S. mail. Believe it or not, back then that's how we stayed in touch. So I was taking a TV and radio course, and I had access to this fantastic studio. So I was making these funny cassette tapes with all their sound effects and stuff. And I popped Gary, was one of the guys I'd pop on one of these cassette tapes. Well, he loved it. He mailed me back a cassette tape. And this went on for years, I'm going to say 16 years, getting cassette tapes and things from him and really not talking by telephone, which made that phone call in 96, very more.
Okay, so let's get to the phone call in 1996. This is when you say everything changes, and we know this is when John Bonet is murdered. So what was this phone call like? When was it, and what was said?
It was December 26th. It was almost midnight on the 27th. It would have been the morning of the 27th. You remember a phone call you get that's terrifying. You remember it. You remember the room you're in when you get that phone call. And I remember about the Christmas tree and everything. It was December 26th, and it was about midnight. And I get that phone call, and it's Gary's voice, and he's like, oh, I just heard, little girl, like it was the most terrible. I'm getting goosebumps just now telling you guys this because.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, that sounds like something that, somebody who really did something and felt really bad about it or needed to talk about it would do. Because, I mean, even think about, small children when they're extremely excited, as in not excited, but like, agitated or upset, how they cry. And it's that, that's what it sounds like he's mimicking, like he's talking about, that hard to breathing fast, heavy breathing, like I just got hurt, like that. But wow, that's interesting. But talking about, he hurt a little girl, that's interesting. Hey, Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Because it was terrifying, and So I immediately jumped into protective mode. Oh, where are you? What's your address? What's your phone number? And he kind of caught on to me, but he told me he was in Boulder. Well, I was like, Boulder? Why would you be in Boulder? You've been sending me mail for 16 years from Oregon. And now you're suddenly in Boulder calling me. Anyway, he hung the phone up when I'm trying to get information. And that was the phone call. Well, here's the scariest part. The next morning, I get to the LA Times on the newspaper on my front porch. It's 6, 7 in the morning. I flip the newspaper open, and there it is on the back side. It says, girl 6 slain in Boulder, Colorado. And I knew something serious had happened that night.
Okay, now I have an issue. Okay, so let me read your comments, and I have an issue with this story now. I think police attitude investigated and cleared Olivia. Okay. Jen Finn says, so this person was just snooping around while they were gone. Creepy. Yeah. If they have DNA, why no genealogy? Good question. Genealogy. Good question. Toxic said John Bonet was with them and she attended that party. Yes. And I remember hearing that it could be somebody who attended the party. Jenny Jen said, I believe a former detective said the person would have had to be in the home before the family arrived. He also mentioned, I'm guessing the housekeeper said she saw somebody staying in the house. Oh, wow. Oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sending you prayers, honey. They dropped him because DNA didn't match. Yes, however, remember the window had been broken long before that night. Dad broke it to gain entry when he was locked out and thought Patsy had it repaired. Okay. I'm not going to be able to catch up now. My issue with this is if he called him the night before and then the very next day, all the way in the LA Times, this article comes out at 6 o'clock in the morning and it's on his front doorstep at 6 o'clock in the morning, then is it possible the man already knew about the unaliving, especially if he was in Boulder, Colorado, or I'm sure it might have been on the news, because in order for it to be printed in the paper, like it's already had to travel. The news, the information had to travel from Boulder, Colorado to the LA Times, and they had to get the story written and printed. And this was 1996. We didn't have like internet phones. We couldn't just send, well, maybe you could send a text message, but you didn't get information nearly as fast as you do right now. So if it was the night before, I would question if he had prior knowledge, because the very next day, a couple of hours later, basically from what you're telling me, is that this newspaper came out, if I'm understanding correctly. Oh, the time difference. Maybe that could play a role. Thank you, Toxic. That could play a role. Sarah, I am praying for you, honey. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that.
I knew something serious had happened. I go, wow, he actually killed the girl. And that's when I called that number. Right then and there, I called that phone number. And I sat back and, when you call the police, they're going to do something, right? I mean, that's their job. They investigate tips, right? And here's my solid gold tip. But I sit back, I'm telling my wife, any day they're going to arrest Gary, watch this. It's going to be incredible. And then all of a sudden, like every day would go by, and there's no phone call. I mean, the police never followed up. So after 3 months, I called them a second time. And I said, look, I need to tell you, I've got a really good lead for the John. Now I knew her name was John Bonet. And I said, I've got a lead for the John Bonet murder. And they said, okay, let me put you through to the John Bonet line, quote unquote, the crazy person line, right? Because by now, thousands of people had called, who knows, my tip got buried in there. Who knows what happened? I'm still thinking Gary's going to be arrested any day. You talked about John Mark Carr earlier. And let me tell you something. I knew when John Mark Carr got arrested, I knew that I was like, what is this? I mean, I know Gary did this. I know who killed John Bonet.
Coming up next.
That's interesting. So I wonder why he was never arrested. I guess they didn't take his confession seriously. Jenny said, in my opinion, I feel the media was a big part for misinformation being spread. True Crime Addict said, Lou Smith did a deep dive on this case. He is the only one I agree with his findings. When he died, his daughter took over. Interesting. Why wait all these years to test DNA? So shameful. Good question. It seems like they're waiting to test DNA for years for whatever reason. In so many cases, it's ridiculous.
I do have a letter still sealed right here. It's dated July 31st. I'm opening this, as you can see. I'm sorry, I should have done that on the... Okay, this is a very, very detailed letter.
This is True Crime.
If y'all wouldn't mind, True Crime Addict was thumbs up number 10. So if you wouldn't mind, please fist bump that thumbs up for me. It helps me so much. I really appreciate it.
JonBenet murder was the biggest true crime mystery in the country. And there's a witness who alleges he has incredibly important information that could be tied directly to the killer. He calls police. And now, as I continue my discussion with Michael Vale, we learned what kind of response he got when he called investigators.
Bamacat, thank you so much for being here. Bamacat says, how did Gary know exactly how much John's Christmas bonus was that year? I think he had done work around the house. I could be completely wrong in that, but I thought that he had been around the house or possibly done some work and maybe snooped around and saw it. Bad Girl says Ellie knew 2 weeks later that DNA didn't match the family, but still focused on them. Oh my gosh. We're going through Manitowoc and Two Rivers. Oh, wow, Sarah. That's interesting. I really am. I'm hoping everything's okay. Zio said the crime scene was not well secured, and many people entered the Ramsey home after the crime, potentially contaminating the evidence. So they worried about DNA contamination. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Stephen, Sarah right now is going through this where Stephen Avery and Elijah Vu were. They didn't do genealogy at the time of the crime, but have attempted to in latter years.
Never any response from police. You make the initial call, you make the second call. Did they ever get back to you?
No, the Boulder police never contacted me until the TV show 48 Hours and Lou Smith followed up. And actually, Alex Hunter, the district attorney for Boulder, Colorado at the time, drove out to my apartment in Ventura. And I gave him evidence of some of those scary things that Gary had mailed me over the years. We're talking handwriting samples. We're talking hair from missing kids posters, really scary stuff that he had started sending me. What I forgot to tell you is that over the 16 years, the things he had sent me got darker and darker until it was like including tape recordings where he's simulating a rape of a child and really horrible things like that. So, it was getting pretty scary. And then
Excuse me, what? What? You're sending videotapes like that? Jesus. I'm sorry. But if anybody ever, first of all, why did he feel like he could share that with that person? Number one. Like, why did he feel like that person was open and accepting enough to view that material and think it was unique, tasteful, whatever? Question number one. Question number two, why didn't you call law enforcement and say, hey, this man's sending me this stuff. I'm kind of concerned. Maybe we should 5150 or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to drop the StreamYard link if anybody wants to join me on panel. I know that y'all have a lot of information and I appreciate it. Anders said, I do not think at all that Olivia did it. And Jenny Jen said, but why would the person ask for that specific amount from the bonus? Why not ask for like 1 million? Right. JR Girl said they kept in touch after high school. Right, but like he just said he was sending him videos where he was imitating the grape of a child. Like, you're not going to send that to your grandma or your mom, okay? Because you know they're going to be like, what the hell is this? So why was he so comfortable with the person that's on Vinnie Paulson right now to send him that stuff? Number one. And number two, why didn't that person call somebody and say, hey, whoa, this man, we need to get him some help? Yeah, don't send me anything ever again. Right. Crazy.
'96 happened, and I knew that he had done something very serious.
So when do you get a letter where now, because over the phone, I would consider that a confession too, right? I hurt this girl. He says he's in Boulder, right? So that's one part. When do you start getting letters or the letter where he purports to confess to the murder itself?
Right. It's an interesting story because in May of 2016, I had had enough. I had found Gary's Pinterest page. It was basically a trophy page to John Bonet. There was 65 photos of John Bonet in there. And I just went livid. So I thought, what can I do to help this case along? What can I do? And here it was 2016. So I wrote I have a friend who's an FBI agent, sent her a 3-page email. She said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Within a month, Gary was arrested, and he's got a undetermined sentence. And
So
he's still in prison.
It's still in prison now. I mean, the guy clearly has issues and has problems. And the question is he the one responsible for all of this? So
if I had to guess, I would say this man has some extensive mental issues, toxics and attention seeking. That would be my concern with this. Is he just seeking attention, and did he really do this? Yeah. That's my question.
You get the letter from him. What do you do with the letters once he starts confessing to you through these letters?
No, the way that happened is that within a month he was arrested, and I was like, oh wow, it was like a backpack full of rocks. It was like relief. I finally was free from worrying about Gary loose in society. It was the best feeling in the world. And I thought that was enough. That's what I needed, right? And then, but what happened was somebody said, hey, why don't you write Gary a letter and ask him what he did that night? Or tell me. And I said, that's a brilliant idea. So I started sending Gary's letters. To my surprise, he started sending them back. And I tried everything to try to get him to talk about his life and just about everything, about how this got to this point, you know, and about John Bonet and his obsession with John Bonet. We talked about every detail, and then what happened is I couldn't get enough details from the letters, so I had him start to call me on the telephone, and I'm recording those calls.
Now, Michael, I understand that you just got another letter today.
Oh yeah,
from Gary Leva.
Yeah, matter of fact, I do have a letter still sealed right here. It's dated July 31st.
Do you mind opening it and tell us what Gary has to say tonight?
I sure do. I sure do. And I got to tell you, we've got some amazing details coming up. We have a new private investigator that's working with us, and it's really helping this case along. I'm very excited. Okay, so I'm opening this, as you can see. I'm sorry, I should have done that on the.
Hey, Kara, thank you so much for being here. Sarah said, from what I remember, multiple people had keys to the house. Lots of people were doing work on it and the garden and gardeners. I feel like it was someone who worked there and may have had other overhead financials. Yep. I think it was someone who did work at the house too. The unaliver was under their nose the whole time, in my opinion. I think so too. And then Toxic said, I'm sure they know who did it because they immediately zoned in on Patsy and John. They didn't follow up with other suspects fully and properly. Interesting.
Okay, this is a very, very detailed letter. I haven't reviewed this, but as you can see, let me just approve this, make sure it's okay. It says generosity brings psychological benefits. It's some clipping from it's interesting, you know, the things that he sent me. And now he's kind of changed his handwriting even more, and he writes very small. And, you know, I'll spare you guys. I won't read this to you, but it's been quite a journey for 27 years trying to keep
just
this
give us a
guy
small
safe.
flavor, a small.
Yeah, you can't go through all of that dramatization of opening the mail and then not read it. Are you kidding? Content Angel said, "You guys, it could have been someone right under their noses. The weekend prior, the Ramseys had participated in a holiday open house and had strangers tromping through for the whole weekend." Kara agrees with Bad Girl. It says most unaliving like this happens from people within the family circle. Yep. Statistically, that's accurate. Hello, Darlene, and thank you for being here. Darlene says Colorado is notorious for botching cases. Look at the Watts case. And then Toxic said, "Man, I'd love to read those letters and compare his writing to Patty's, even though honestly I don't think he did it. That would be an interesting comparison." Hey, Pinto.
Small flavor of what he wrote, if you could read a couple lines from it.
In the garden, there are patches where others have dumped things of little value that need clearing out and tilled, ready for planting, that are patches where no matter one tries to grow, a surface then dies.
Still to come.
Some of these weird little strokes that are awkward, those are unique to that individual. That's a really loud announcement.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
So it looked like we're going to get to see some comparisons in handwriting between him and the letter, which should be interesting.
Court TV.
The note was lying across the run of one of the stair treads, and it was kind of dimly lit. It was just very early in the morning, and I started to read it, and it was addressed to John.
John Bonet was murdered in the house and hidden downstairs. But at first, everyone thought it was a kidnapping because of the bizarre ransom note left behind. Now it's time to take a closer look at that note and see what it reveals. Take a look at the ransom note. This is, one of the most significant pieces of evidence in the case, and yet they haven't been able to connect anyone to it. So
Pinto, I just wanted you to know I said hey to you, but it was hard to hear. I think the video had started playing. So just in case you didn't know, I did say hey to you, and thank you so much for being here today.
We've got Gary Oliva confessing in a letter and writing tons of letters to Michael Vale. So what we want to do is compare Gary Oliva's letter to the ransom note to say, hey, are there consistencies here? Does it look like the same person could have or did write these two letters? I want to take a look at sort of like a layover kind of comparison that Moselle did. We have something we could put on the screen here, which compares the TH, the IF, the U, and some of the words here. Moselle, why don't you begin to explain this and what it tells you?
Well, for me, it's really about the nuances, the little things that are not common. It's important to look at the common, there's similarities as well, but it's
Darlene said, "I never once believed either of them suddenly decided to get up in the middle of the night and torture and brutally unalive their daughter. Someone hated them and tried to frame them, in my opinion." Zayo says, "I just don't find much motive with the parents. Does anyone else?" I don't either. I don't think the parents did it. Pinto said, "Hey, Jen." Anders said she's a graphologist, not a handwriting expert. Okay, so I didn't know there was a difference. Thank you for letting me know that there is. And then Darlene said, "They adored that child. Patsy lost her mind and had to stay heavily medicated just to survive. And then her cancer came back." Oh my God. That's awful.
It's also important to look at the uncommon things. For example, a lot of the people who are at home armchair sleuths, they will look at it and say, oh, well, it doesn't visually look the same. But if you can, everybody kind of learned the same way in school to a certain extent. And so there's going to be some commonalities. So when you overlay them, though, some of these weird little strokes that are awkward, that are not common, like a little bend in the T stem or an arch in the H, those are unique to that individual. So when you overlay them, they line up so well. That's a really loud announcement in my profession.
Okay, Dawn, let's start going through some of the letters now. Let's start. This is like going back to school with the letter A and the comparison of the A. So what did you find in this comparison of the letter A? I think we're going to put it up on the screen. Do we have it? Here we go. All right. Tell us what we're looking at.
Sure. So when you look at these, you might think at first, oh, these don't look the same. One starts and one's, on a upward slant to curve over. However, if you lay these two over, if you take the blue A and you lay it over the black A, it almost lines up in that arch that bends around. You can see how they line up a little bit. And then there's also an indentation on that right-hand side, which I think is on another slide later, that you can see in the same location on both sides, both documents. Those nuances or the anomalies exist.
So do you guys think that it looks similar? Let me know. Toxic, that's horrible. Kara asks, what's the difference between a graphologist and a handwriting expert? I would wonder the same. I mean, I would assume one of them graphs and then the other one's a handwriting expert, but I don't know what the difference is. Yes, Zayo, I'm sorry, I forgot to drop the link. I will drop it in just a second. I apologize, I forgot. Overprotected said, if it matters to y'all, a ghost box session with Jean Benet said Gary did it, so this was informative to me, but I'm weird and believe ghost communication should be admissible in court. Well, I want to tell you, hello, Overprotected. I have my own thoughts on ghost box sessions. I do think it's kind of like a fun thing to do, but I don't know that they could be accurate all the time. Thank you so much for being here. I do mine A's and T's, and that's what does it. Hold on a minute. I do my A's and T's that way. Does that make me a suspect? Right. Good channel. I mean, good point. Goodness gracious.
And that's what we're really looking for is it's easy to spot things that are similar, but what we're really looking for is those things that aren't really obvious, but we can still find. So that's why we really dig in and take our time with these analysis and dig up a little bit more or dig through them a little bit more so we can find those similarities and the dissimilarities, because we want to have a broad analysis.
I just dropped the link.
To know what's different. And then we also want to know, okay, so how many traits are similar so that we can stack those traits? Because like Moselle said, some of us are going to have very similar writing because we learned in schools that taught us how to write the same letters. So that aside, as we grow, we start creating or start developing our own style, and our own personality comes out into our writing, where you can see someone else's handwriting and recognize, okay, yeah, that's my mom's handwriting. So that's what we're looking for beyond that. What else is in that writing that is unique to both documents?
What's the standard when you compare? Is it like more likely than not inconsistent with, or what's your conclusion?
So for me, I use a 5-point scale, which basically 5 would say, absolutely, there's no way possible this person could have written this, in my opinion.
Okay, so a graphologist, also known as a handwriting analyst, studies handwriting to interpret a person's personality traits and psychological makeup. And it says genealogists examine the way a person forms letters, the size of the letters, the pressure of strokes, and the general appearance of the writing. They also consider the spacing between words, the regularity of slanting, and their use of ornamentation and angularity. And it says what they can determine. Genealogists or graphologists use their analysis to determine personality traits, which can be used to create personal profiles. These profiles can be used in a variety of settings, including criminal investigations, jury selection, business, to learn more about potential employees. Hey, love. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I hope your Thanksgiving was fantastic.
It was. I hope yours was too.
My Thanksgiving was great. Hey, everybody in chat. So the biggest thing between the two, just like the biggest thing, just the offset, they both analyze handwriting, obviously, right? But a
Right.
graphologist commonly works in a non-legal setting, and handwriting experts usually work in the legal part of that. They authenticate like people who might have written a will or checks, like fraud checks and stuff like that, anonymous letters, ransom notes, stuff like that, and they give expert testimony in court. A graphologist usually has like they work with compatibility, like they do workshops, they do personality assessments, career counseling, stuff like that that's on a non-legal setting and stuff that just kind of does that make sense?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you for that.
Okay, I would say they usually work with the emotional side of writing, your personality traits, like why you write your T's and your I's the way you do, and a handwriting expert actually gets in and tries to determine if it matches specific individuals in a legal context, like forgery and fraud and signatures and
Yeah, and that matches what I said because I was
yes,
just reading
yes.
the Google description. So that's perfect. Thank you for reiterating that because it didn't tell me the difference and you just told me the difference. It
Well,
told
Google's a jerk, so I'm kidding. Everybody should learn how to use Google.
Google can be biased sometimes.
Oh, hi content. Yeah, it's me, Hio.
Yeah, I say Zayo. I didn't know if she
That's
wanted me to
fine.
say Hio, but
Sayo, Hio. Late for dinner. That's okay.
all right, I'll continue playing this. Thank you for coming up with me.
Opinion. Again, this is just my opinion. So for this, I would be at about a 1.75. I would love to have seen more handwriting, but we can only work with what we have access to. But based on everything that I looked for and looked at, I had dozens and dozens of samples of Gary's. I started at 250, went up to 225, then was at a 2, and then ended at 175.
So what does 175 mean again?
Means pretty close to certain, but you can never say 100%.
Right. So,
So
it's very close. Okay. So Dawn,
very close.
what was your conclusion?
So I started out more at a 3-4 in the very beginning because I didn't do the deep dive. I was still just did a peer review. And the more I started digging into it, the more I started doing the overlays, I could see more significance in the similarities. And this is a compelling argument that there's a lot of anomalies in here. And so I did manage to get down to, and I was on a 2 for a little while, but those O's and some of the numbers, the A's that have a little indentation that exists in both documents, they were a little convincing. So I'm between a 175 and a 2. So in my opinion, it's plausible.
So the JonBenet murder remains a mystery, but it's a mystery that many people who have studied the evidence see completely differently. And that's a major problem. The other problem is the disconnect between the family and some of the investigators. Now, I don't know if this case will ever be solved, and I don't know if there will ever be a trial here on Court TV for the accused killer. But what I do know is that little JonBenet will not get justice until we know the truth. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks for joining the investigation.
Okay, so that was what he had to say about it. Bad Girl asked where Bellis and Eek are. Zayo told us that Eek is at work. We are summoning a Bellis. We miss you, love, if you can come. I have crime scene photos. I want to give you guys a very heavy trigger warning. Hold on, it just went back. I try to pause it before it blows our eardrums out and then it'll go back. So I'm going to put some music on in the background now because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to try to play the interview with her dad, or at least a portion of it. And we'll look at these crime scene photos. Give me just a second and then I'll play this music and I'll tell you where the crime scene photos come from. Hold on. I don't like that one. Okay. So I apologize. It's paused on such a horrible part. So I'll leave it like that, and we will listen to it. I'm sorry. I apologize that I had to play that in the background. This is from John Benet Ramsey, under the little line underneath 1996. Please give them a like and subscribe. And the title of the video is The Crime Scene Photos. So very heavy trigger warning. This is the crime scene photos. And it says right here, actual Boulder Police Department crime scene photo. John Benet Ramsey crime scene. Let me just mute this because we have music going already anyway. Let me know if it's too loud. I know this is hard to watch, but it might be important. God, that's awful. I hope they find who did this. I really do. What was drawn on her hand? A heart? Toxic said the blanket in that picture is different than other pictures, so take this with a grain of salt. Thank you for the trigger warning. Toxic said these are after she was carried upstairs, I think. So that, I guess that's the area, the basement that they found her. I've never known that there was something drawn on her hand. Bad girl, I don't think there was stun guns back then. And you can see that it's an area of the basement that was being worked on, which goes back to people doing work inside the house. Yeah, the media looked at the dad and the brother. But like there you could see the paint cans and where people had been doing work. So, I mean, it leads me to believe it could have been somebody doing work in the house. There's the art supplies. And the paintbrush. I don't really want to say what that is in reference to. They did, yeah, they had stun guns, but not as common. That's the window that was broken. And then there's a suitcase that somebody used to, apparently it looks like stand on or something. There's the broken window. That's showing that the glass was broken in. But again, somebody stated that the dad had done that and thought that the mom fixed it because the dad was locked out. So he did that to get in the house and thought mom had fixed it and evidently had not. There was a mark on her face. Yeah. I don't think that. Oh, content said they did use a stun gun. So that's interesting because they weren't as common back then.
It was said to be a theory that they thought that the marks on the body could have been caused by a stun gun.
Oh, okay. Okay. So now I know that mark on her neck. It didn't. Hold on. I'll go back to, well, that's the bowl of pineapple. Let me go back to that. A stun gun would usually leave 2 marks. I don't want to block y'all from seeing it. I will bring it back to the part we're at. Okay, so we right now are at 3:33. That doesn't look like it's from a stun gun. It could have been, you know how the stick, they have the stick and it's twisted. Maybe the stick like was pushed into the side of her cheek. That looks like the end of the thing. Hold on, I'll show you the thingy. When they show it again. That thing. So could that mark on her face be like this end right here, maybe being pushed into the side of her cheek as she was being choked? I'm sorry to get graphic. I know that's triggering. I apologize, but that's more like what it looks like to me. than a stun gun, especially considering the era. Like, it really would not have been common for you to have a stun gun back then. I mean, I'm sure people did, but I would think like police and maybe richer people with more money, because that would have been a relatively new kind of thing. Content says it wasn't 1977, right? But 1996, we didn't have things
No,
like
but
that
yeah.
either.
And you're right, Content. It wasn't 1977, but it was more towards the time of the air tasers instead of the modern tasers. So there is a difference. And so she had 2 pairs of small marks that were found on her body. One was on her lower back and the other was on her neck. And they were like, on the report it says they were 3.5 centimeters apart, consistent with the spacing of the prongs of the air tasers of that gun model at that time. And they're saying that the stun gun was cited to be like an air taser that was like popular, really popular in the 90s. It had prongs that matched the spacing on her body. And they say that this is what I'm reading from the report. So they say Lou Smith was the one who said that they were too close to resemble the actual injuries caused by a stun gun, and later changed his mind. I don't know who that detective was. I don't know anything about that part. And then they apparently did some demonstrations on some animal skin and some other test materials, and apparently they produced the same appearance of those on John Bonet.
Okay.
And then it said that they think that it may have been used to incapacitate her or subdue her without causing significant noise, and that does align with the theory that the crime was premeditated, obviously.
Okay. All right.
That's just from what I can find. So
yeah, I appreciate you finding that and reading it to us. And I paused it here to like show you, like, this was the telephone that they were using to give you some kind of idea about the things that we had back then. But I was
what the heck is that thing? The one I had, you had to put your finger in, you dial it with you had to roll your finger around.
Yep, my grandma had one. I used to play with it. She used to get mad at me for messing with the phone. I used to roll it around. Like, I remember I was like, how do I use the phone?
Because it costs so much money too.
Yeah.
They have lots of skeptics that have disputed that. So, I mean, they say it looks like the ends of they said it was like a toy train track that they had there at the house. They thought it might be defensive or post-mortem things, like you said, the stick, maybe. They didn't find a stun gun at the scene or find anything that was linked to the case, and they don't have any corroborating evidence. So it's hard to support it. It's just a theory. That's what we do here. We speculate, and that's what they started out with. So
yeah. Content, I'm sure they have, and she said that it could have been a stun gun. I just mean not. What I mean is, like, it wasn't like now everybody's carrying one around. Like, I mean, if you were to go in Walmart, more than likely 20 people out of 50 have a stun gun or something on them like that. Maybe not that many, but it's more common to have one in your pocketbook. What I meant is, like, in 1996, I don't think it would have been as common to have one in your pocketbook, but I could be wrong. No, it's not a rotary phone, but she was referencing a rotary phone. Yeah, that's a push button phone. She was just talking about, phones that she had used. I had used a rotary phone too. She wasn't saying that that's a rotary phone. I wonder what that's emphasizing on. Oh, that's a beautiful Christmas tree. And there's detectives in there. Right. Kara is saying maybe putting what I was trying to say into better terms by saying back then stun guns were bulkier and huge, but today they're a bit more sleek. Right. And it wasn't, I mean, I wouldn't have thought about, I mean, I was a child, so maybe they were more common, but I wouldn't have thought that everybody had one on them like they do today. That is a house phone. You did have to have those installed. What is that? I'm scared to ask what that was.
Content, you do not have to apologize. Like I said, the facts are facts, and we're speculating channel. And if we don't have people, if you want an echo chamber, you're gonna have to go to another channel because we don't expect that from you.
No, yeah, and you're fine. I appreciate you letting us know. I appreciate you vocalizing your thoughts, and I take corrections. I'm wrong sometimes, and I'd rather be told, hey, you're wrong about this, so I can correct it before I put this live out and everybody thinks that what I said is right when it was in fact wrong. So I do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Oh, wrong button. I wanted to read, so I'm going to read part of this. To be purportedly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned, I think it says. Patricia Ramsey's comparisons. So here's the mother's comparison. But that G, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I don't see a comparison. I don't think they're the same. Oh, goodness. Sorry. Trigger warning. I'm sorry, y'all. I mean, it is crime scene photos from a horrific crime, so you have to expect things like that. Why were they cut like that? I mean, I know why, but like, what did they use? That's weird to me. Okay, so let's see what we can look at next.
Was that her clothes? Is that what you were saying, that last thing?
Yeah, her clothes. The way that part was cut out of her undergarments, I was wondering how they did that. I mean, it's a horrible thing to wonder, but I was just wondering.
Yeah. It's cause for curiosity, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this is ABC News. It's titled The Unaliving of JonBenet Ramsey. That was then episode 10. That was then. I checked to see if the Unaliving of JonBenet Ramsey was like if it was a series, but it's not. So I'm gonna try to play this. I'll try to turn this down a smidge. When I had it on like 12, I still got in trouble for copyright. So I'll keep it where it's at, and I'll just try to pause it, and we can see what Fox News 5 New York has to say about it.
Holidays, but on December 26, 1996, the Ramseys were instead grieving the loss of their youngest child, 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey.
The child beauty queen had been found sexually assaulted and murdered in the basement of the family's Boulder, Colorado home.
Now, nearly 3 decades later, a new Netflix documentary is bringing the horrific murder back into the spotlight and asking the question, who killed JonBenet?
This case shocked the nation and became a tabloid obsession. And this is what some of the actual news coverage looked like back then.
Our first report begins 1 year after the tragic murder of JonBenet.
It has been a year since a 5-year-old girl became more famous than most people do in a lifetime. She did it by dying, as we hear.
Well, that's a horrific way to start the news segment there. I was reading y'all's comments.
From Alicia Acuna. While JonBenet Ramsey's name is well known, her killer is still anonymous.
The morning of December 26th, 1996, investigators are called to a kidnapping that quickly becomes a murder investigation. The case.
Toxic, yeah, I will send it to you. Yes, I will also post it in the description box.
They're already in the Discord.
JonBenet Ramsey's parents.
They are?
Yeah, it's in the Discord, in the cold case file in the Discord.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yes, ma'am.
wealthy and prominent in the Boulder community, tell police they found a 3-page handwritten ransom note on the back staircase of their home. Police find no signs of forced entry, no footprints in the snow. John Ramsey tells them he locked all of the doors before going to bed. Police search the home but find nothing.
We were gearing up to manage a kidnapping situation.
Hours pass without any word from a kidnapper. Police ask John Ramsey.
So there was no footprints in the snow. That's odd. Had it snowed more that night? Like, was it currently snowing throughout the night that night? Is a question I have. Yeah, I was 9 at the time.
Ramsey to check the house to see if anything is out of place. Ramsey, it is later reported, immediately heads to a room in the basement. Minutes later, he emerges holding his daughter's body. The autopsy indicates JonBenet was found with a ligature around her neck, a fractured skull, and that she had been sexually assaulted. According to search warrants, police believe Patsy Ramsey wrote the ransom note, but have no conclusive proof. In April, the Ramseys give their first formal interview to police, and Boulder DA Alex Hunter publicly calls the Ramseys a focus of the murder investigation.
But let me assure you.
So that's interesting. Why were they so dead set on her back then?
That I did not kill JonBenet.
I did not kill my daughter, JonBenet.
The Ramseys say an intruder killed their daughter. Meanwhile, the police investigation is crumbling. The lead investigator announces in October he is leaving the force. Nearing the first anniversary, police introduce a new lead investigator, Mark Beckner, who assures the news media and the public the case is not stalled.
I'm confident that it will be solved, yes.
And Beckner says the Ramseys are still a focus of the investigation.
They do remain under an umbrella of suspicion, but we're not ready to name any suspects.
I want to know why they thought that they were suspicious. I'm reading some of your comments. Ever thought that a rival parent did it, but then how would they know the amount of the bonus? Was Patsy one of those who told people stuff like that? It's possible. I don't know.
So, from what I can gather, the reason that Patsy became the primary suspect in the case originally was due to the circumstantial evidence, behavioral observations, and some inconsistencies in the stuff that happened around the timeline that she gave. And it said the ransom note found at the scene was unusually long with a bizarre tone, and it had phrases that seemed to be like rehearsed or from movies. I have never read the ransom note, to be honest with you. I do not have any clue if this is any fact. It's just what's in the report. The note demanded the money, which coincided with the exact amount that you guys are saying of the Christmas bonus, which supports personal knowledge. And then some people are saying that the handwriting has a lot of similarities to her handwriting. Like I said, I have never analyzed that, so I don't know. And they said that the results were inconclusive, but it was definitely matching to certain times that she's written notes. It was matching the tone, that's where it comes up. Not the forensic, like handwriting expert, but the graphologist that we were talking about, because they go by tone. And so that's why it was matched to her for that. And then, of course, the 911 call. She called to report the ransom note, but violated the instructions, which said, don't contact the police. So some critics say that she was acting suspicious because you wouldn't have called the police if you were expecting to have to pay the ransom note because you'd be in a panic. I don't necessarily agree with that because, like Leticia Stout said the same thing, that there were ransom notes they ended up calling the police to. It just doesn't make sense. They just basically did it off observation and her behavior. Just her behavior. That's what it says. And then, did she have a history of bedwetting? Does anybody know in the chat? Did she have a history of bedwetting?
I'm not sure. I think I'd heard something.
They were just saying that it could be, proponent of that theory that she could have staged the scene because she got mad to make it look like a kidnapping or a murder, but she had a history of bedwetting. It could be because a lot of people say that has to do with SA and like like you said, it's all speculation, so I don't know. It's just kind of what I'm getting from where I can find some information.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a proponent of that.
Right.
So I don't know. I do have the ransom note, so I can pull that up real quick and we can read it.
So there wasn't any forced entry into the house, and fibers from her clothing were found on the duct tape from the mother's clothing, and then the garrote, in Spanish you say garrote, but the little thing that was used to go around her neck was constructed from items in the house.
See, all of that's weird to me.
That's why they're suspects, because we can't figure out. So, I mean, anybody could have came in the house and gotten the stuff and kind of went all around and looked for the stuff. But what they're saying is basically it doesn't align with an intruder scenario, and it doesn't point to somebody coming from outside to come into the house when they would know their household. That's what makes it suspect.
Right. Yeah, and it does. It makes me question, again, because if there's no footprints in the snow, there's no sign of forced entry, like the dad broke the window to get in and thought the mom had fixed it. And then there's stuff all, like, you're not, if you're a criminal and you're going in to commit a crime, you're not going to feel freely enough to walk around the house and gather items you need. You're not even going to know where to look.
Tiana, I heard that too, and I had no idea. How old is the brother, or was the brother at the time?
I think he was 9.
Oh, he was just a like little.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Hold on just a second.
Take your time.
Sorry. Yeah, the window was open. No parent. Yeah, I don't think. See, it's weird because someone said maybe the brother did it and the parents covered it up for him. I heard that. JR girl, I believe you that nope, I don't think a parent would mutilate her after death either. But it is just weird that there's no evidence in the snow, and it's all things around the house. They referenced the ransom note being weird, so I'm going to read that for us real quick. This is from Alcatraz East Crime Museum. And this is the Ramsey note. It says, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign factum. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring the site attached to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence a earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You also, excuse me, you will also be ordered or something her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do so purportedly like you, so I advise you not provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions. And you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. Something and your family are under constant security as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only something at Droust, so don't think that killing will be different. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. That's interesting. That's weird.
I find it very bizarre. Number one, me personally, I don't know of any ransom note that I've ever seen in all of the cases that there are ransom notes that were that long.
Yeah.
Just speaking from like the morbid personality side that I have, if I were going to do something like this and write a ransom note for it, it would be about 2 words or 3 words, because I would think somebody would try to analyze what I'm doing, and that would have been the same in 96. I mean, I was a little older than you were. I'm not going to say how old, but I was old enough to remember the case. But I'm just saying that I don't think that the ransom note would have been something that somebody of any sophisticated mind would took 2 hours to write.
Yeah, and they
somebody's going to check your handwriting.
Right, and they did it. I remember that they did it on a notepad that was in the house. So again, I mean, somebody's feeling awful comfortable in that house enough to
Did
write.
they have any ties to law enforcement in any way toxic that would have made you think that way?
And the fact, I mean, again, I know y'all say it might have been more common, but that made me think law enforcement that they had a taser, that we were referencing a taser, because again, I don't know. I was a child, so maybe it was more common than I remember. I just don't think that was something that was common back then. I think the wording was similar to a book one of them were reading. Okay. Yeah, because it didn't sound like a movie or anything to me. Darlene said, I've heard of cases where someone was living in people's attic or basement and they didn't know for a while. That was a big, huge house. Whoever it was comfortable being in there. Yes, somebody could have been, and I think I heard something about somebody living in the basement or something, or the attic, but I could be wrong. That just has me thinking possible LE involvement. We know about the tactic, etc. police use in the night. Makes me wonder. Why don't they want to retest the DNA? I'll read this and then we'll play the video. I think I remember hearing that the open house could have afforded someone to walk through and grab paper off the tablet, taking it home to write the note, then come back. Far-fetched, I don't know. That's possible, and that's a good theory actually, because they did just have that open house right before this happened. Hey, LA, thank you for being here. It was said it was from a couple different movies.
Oh, LA, hello. It says, I just found a couple of different things that might lead to the reason that they didn't retest the DNA due to advancements in forensic science. You would think that they would, right? But it says, improving testing methods. Since 1996, the DNA technology has obviously advanced significantly in the area of touch DNA, low copy number DNA, and genetic genealogy. But they had too many small or degrading samples. Obviously, we know that they put them in like paper sacks, and then they kind of fold them up and put them in a box. And so, I mean, just like everything in life, things degrade over time. So they had the primary DNA profile that came from her was a trace male DNA sample found on the underwear and the long johns. They were small, and they think that it may have degraded too much over time. I mean, it's not like the movies, you know. They don't want to take that last bit of remaining evidence and exhaust the little bit that they have if they don't have the technology that they think can solve the case, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Also, there's a control of evidence issue. So the Boulder Police Department and the district attorney, they have the custody of the evidence, and they're not willing to give it up to a third-party lab for that exact reason. Because if something comes up later, or the other side of that could be they don't want nobody to know. That's the two theories that they're saying. So
Yeah.
they don't want to give it away because it's too small of evidence to be used, or two, they don't want to give it up to the cold case review board and to the team to reevaluate the case because the police don't want anybody to know what
Yeah.
really happened to this little girl. So
Will we ever know? I mean, will they ever
there's so many factors. It's like at every turn, it's like you look for an answer in just one little side of it, and then there's another question, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I'll play this. So this has got a lot of footage and news articles or news station clips from the time.
In Boulder, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
Just a year and a half after the Little Beauty Queen's murder, conflicts, changes, and accusations shake up the investigation, and still no arrests have been made in the case.
One of the lead investigators in the murder of JonBenet Ramsey has now quit the case, accusing the Boulder DA of mishandling the investigation in favor of politics. Look at that story from reporter Greg Lamont.
A former detective in the JonBenet Ramsey murder case wrote a blistering letter of resignation, attacking the district attorney, claiming, among other things, quote, there is evidence critical to the investigation that, to this day, has never been collected, as well as other evidence that sits today untested in the laboratory. In a letter obtained by ABC, former Detective Steve Thomas claims prosecutors in the district attorney's office blocked efforts to subpoena the parents' telephone and credit card records, and claims evidence was improperly shared with the Ramseys' attorney. Thomas, in the letter, said his primary reason for leaving his job is the belief the district attorney's office continues to mishandle the Ramsey case. It's been more than a year and a half since JonBenet Ramsey was found strangled and beaten in the basement of her Boulder home. Early on, police said the 6-year-old girl's parents were a focus of the investigation, but no one has been arrested. Thomas, in his letter, said, quote, it is my belief the district attorney's office has effectively crippled this case. In response, Police Chief Mark Beckner issued a statement saying, quote, I am disappointed that Steve felt the need to vent his frustrations in the investigation. Beckner went on to say, we continue to work closely with the DA's office on completing assigned tasks. I continue to...
So this is referencing, again, like the DNA, I'm sure, as the main priority and other evidence as well.
Have confidence in the investigative team. District Attorney Alex Hunter in July was expected to make a decision as to whether to present the case to a grand jury, but no decision has been announced. A spokesperson for Hunter says the district attorney is out of town until next week. It's not known if he will respond to Thomas's letter of resignation.
That's interesting. Darlene said, it just seems to me someone knew them and hated them enough and also had awful thoughts about JonBenet, but wanted to torture the parents too. Maybe deliberately, maybe it looked like they did it. Yeah. It's the cops' fault that this case isn't solved, says Content. Zio said, they also worry that DNA found could be questioned in the handling process rather than the perpetrator. So yeah, you're right on that. Jenny said, maybe the person tried to take her with the suitcase but had no luck and ended up leaving. Yep. Allegedly. Everything I saw up on panel or here is all speculation and theory. Always do your own research. Please always do your own research. Okay, Sarah.
That was meant to say, but, typo.
Oh, yeah, you're good. Sarah, I'm praying for you, love. I'm hoping that everything's okay, babe.
Greg Lamont.
Well, the bickering between the police and prosecutors in the JonBenet Ramsey murder case is becoming legendary, yet no arrests have been made in the case. Julie Hayden reports that some in Colorado think it's time the governor got involved.
Boulder Detective Steve Thomas said he was so upset about the way the Boulder DA's office is handling the JonBenet Ramsey murder case that he turned in his badge for a carpenter's hammer. Thomas was one of the lead detectives in the Ramsey case, and in a scathing resignation letter, he blasted Boulder DA Alex Hunter. Thomas's message was heard loud and clear all the way to the governor's office.
The content of that letter was pretty direct
What made him so mad?
And forceful.
Governor Romer explained that he has asked 4 metro area district attorneys to get together and give him advice and counsel on whether he should intervene and appoint a special prosecutor. He says he'll meet with them in person if they want or accept a letter of recommendation. And he hopes to have a decision in 5 to 7 days.
The issue now is, as you go forward, will you get a better and more just solution to this, maintaining the present leadership or changing that leadership?
Craig Silverman says he'd be surprised if the 4 local DAs recommend a special prosecutor, but he says it might help minimize the conflicts between the Boulder cops and the DA.
I wonder if I don't know if they did recommend a special DA or not, but I wonder if the case would have been solved by now if they had. Zio said, greater transparency about what evidence remains testable could help answer some of the questions too. Darlene said, some people believe the person did it intending to kidnap her and hit her too hard and ended up unaliving her before they could leave the house. I have a question about that too. Why write the ransom note and all of these things and demand the money if she's just going to end up, they're just going to find her deceased in the basement? That's weird to me as well. So I'm glad that you brought that up as a possible answer. They should have investigated. They should have appointed a special investigator. I agree.
Should the case ever go to trial?
Detective Thomas's letter was just the latest salvo in a long, increasingly hostile war between the police and the prosecutors. Any good defense attorney will try to exploit that at trial. But if you remove Alex Hunter as the prosecutor, the special prosecutor could say, hey, I had nothing to do with that.
And that was reporter Julie Hayden in Colorado.
With this being such a high-profile case with lots of media attention, the grand jury found out what being on this case could mean for their lives, and reporters on the scene are given a stern warning.
Well, the Boulder, Colorado DA says that JonBenét Ramsey's parents are under what he calls an umbrella of suspicion. This as the grand jury begins hearing evidence in the case. Carol McKinley is in Colorado with a report. Carol.
That's right, Carol. This could make or break the case, really. If the grand jury doesn't come up with an indictment, the case will just be shelved for a while. But this grand jury met for its second full day in secret in what could be a long, tedious process. They were escorted from the Boulder County Justice Center to...
So I wonder why they didn't decide to move forward with. Evidently they felt like the case wasn't strong enough, but it bothers me that this hasn't been solved. It really does, after all this time.
To their cars. After that first full day Tuesday, these are 8 women, 4 men, and 5 alternates who are just now realizing what being on this grand jury is going to mean to their lives. The cameras are going to be on them coming and going. Their names and bios are on the internet, their faces plastered on the local papers. In fact, what we know about them is one is a single mother, one's a grandfather, one is a pyrotechnician, another woman calls herself a good old gal. So at this point, the good old gal and the folks who are just normal people, citizens of Boulder coming in to make this big decision, are learning that their lives are going to be affected, so are their families and their jobs.
How long and how hard are they going to...
So this is showing the dangers of media. It's probably why they take more precautions when moving the jury to and from locations.
Work on this case. Are they going to work 2 days a week, or are they going to work 4 days a week? Are they going to work at night? What kind of hours are they going to keep? Hopefully, given that this is a murder, there will be some sense of urgency now.
The Boulder County Sheriff just came out with a memo and handed it to the media in the parking lot here. It's from the judge presiding over the Ramsey case, reminding us, a friendly reminder now, to stay 25 feet away from the grand jurors. And if we get any closer, we'll be sent to jail, citing contempt of court charges. So today and yesterday were just routine. They're being briefed.
Okay, I'm going to skip past that. We'll see what the new suspect was back then.
There have been many suspects over the years in the investigation to find JonBenét's murderer, but in 1999, a new suspect was named, and it was another member of JonBenét's family.
The prime suspect in the murder of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey is reportedly her brother Burke, who is now 12. Star Magazine says their parents, John...
So if he was 12 in 99, I don't know why it's taking me. So he was like, yeah, 8 or 9. So I was right about that. This is going to tell us why they thought he could have been guilty of this crime.
John and Patsy Ramsey are now in plea bargaining negotiations with prosecutors in Colorado. The magazine also says the DA wants Patsy Ramsey punished for her alleged role in faking a ransom note and trying to cover up the murder on Christmas night back in 1996.
So, who did it? Could a voice analysis of the people interviewed in connection with the murder help solve the case?
I did not kill my daughter, John Bonet.
I love that child.
I know I'm innocent. I know they know I'm innocent.
I've never even met the little girl.
You've heard their stories. You've heard their pleas for innocence.
So, a voice analysis would have been a good idea. I am not seeing you guys comment. Are y'all still here? I just want to make sure everybody's still here and it didn't boot me or anything.
We're still here, but I haven't seen any comments either.
Okay, thank you. Having a voice analysis analyze them is a great idea, but obviously nothing ever came of it. Okay, thank you guys.
Innocence. But who may be lying and who may be telling the truth?
I did not kill Jean Bonet.
When you watch John and Patsy Ramsey, do you believe their story? Both refused to testify before a grand jury looking into the murder of their daughter. They also refused to take a polygraph test. So in the end, did they do it or was it someone else?
Suspected deception in the following segment.
This is a voice stress analyzer, more commonly known as the Truster Pro. It's used by 700 police forces across the United States. By analyzing voice, it is designed to calculate percentages of deception. But just like a polygraph test, its reliability is debated, and its results are not admissible in court.
I mean, I can understand that for sure. Baby girl said, so true. There was so much corruption in the police department then. I'm glad things have changed somewhat. We now have body cameras and all. Yeah. Look up that old AF interface on the computer. Yeah. Yeah. And that was 1999.
Don Bender, a licensed forensic psychotherapist, is trained to operate the Truster, and we called upon his services.
The polygraph measures physiological functions, blood pressure, galvanic skin response, which is sweating, and also respiration. The computerized voice stress analyzer, on the other hand, measures the quality of the voice, particularly the frequency and what are called micro tremors in the vocal cords.
We took interviews from people police had interviewed in connection with the murder of John Bonet Ramsey. The first was Bud Henderson, whose ex-wife once worked for John Ramsey and allegedly misappropriated money from the Ramsey business.
They also at the time asked me if I could take a lie detector test. Excuse me. I told them I would.
So he misappropriated funds. That's interesting, especially asking for the exact amount of his Christmas bonus. I find that intriguing.
Think about that.
Mr. Henderson, in general, was quite believable. The only instance where there seemed to be some question of credibility was where he said that he'd be most willing to actually take a polygraph.
Our second test was Bill McReynolds, who played Santa Claus at the Ramseys' Christmas party the night before John Bonet was found murdered.
Oh, that's interesting. That could be a possible suspect. Toxic, I'm ready for my shortbread cookies. Thank you. Kara said, the stress voice analysis on the parent annoys me. Of course the parents are going to be stressed. Someone broke into their house and unalived their daughter. A good point. Good point.
I have little stardust that she gave me.
Deception was indicated in the following segment.
Little girl, and she actually gave Santa a present.
Some indications of exaggeration when he was talking.
Isn't that sweet? She gave Santa a present. I mean, she sounds just adorable.
About gifts that John Bonet had given him.
But the most interesting findings by far were those of John Bonet's parents, John and Patsy Ramsey.
I did not kill my daughter, John Bonet.
The one statement that actually came across as believable was his direct statement that he wasn't directly responsible for killing John Bonet.
But watch and listen to what the truster indicated at this statement.
You want to say to the killer of your daughter?
We'll find you. We will find you.
Deception was indicated in the following segment.
We'll find you.
According to the voice stress analyzer, there were portions of his statements having to do with the search for.
I mean, but it just sounds like it's just a change in voice, and considering the technology at the time, is it just picking up on when a voice is raised? Because that does indicate stress in the voice, because your voice is louder and you're raising your voice. I mean, that's the question I have after reading that. Darlene said, at that point, why would John or Patsy trust the police? They gave them everything they asked for in the beginning until they started accusing them, right? I agree with that statement. Have y'all seen that? Some caddy called John Bonet over-sexualized, and whoa, that's crazy. I went and looked it up. I haven't heard of him. I don't think that's deception. That's wishful thinking, hope, but knowing that it's slim to find the person who did it. Right. I didn't think that was deceptive either. I think he just raised his voice. That's what makes me question the voice analysis going on anyway.
The real culprit that seemed less than wholly believable.
Let me assure you that I did not kill Jean Bonet.
The voice stress analyzer graphs from Mrs. Ramsey were particularly interesting because on the most relevant question, did she kill John Bonet, there wasn't a significant reaction that really questioned her believability.
Like her husband, the great percentage of unbelievability comes at this point.
Suspected deception in the following segment.
God knows who you are, and we will find you.
Right there is the
But again, her voice is higher because, I mean, you're like Toxic said, your voice also goes higher pitched when under stress. But saying things like, you know, she's pointing her finger, showing agitation, pointing her finger, we will find you. Her voice is going to be at a more of a stress level anyway, because she's raised her voice. She is stressing a point, not necessarily being deceptive. You're stressing a point, and that's my problem with this whole voice analysis thing going on. But again, I mean, if I take into consideration time, it's probably the best they had at the time. Kara said he's pissed because they're accusing him, so he's defensive. Right, I agree. And sounds exhausted and depressed. She's lying to herself. Sometimes if you tell a lie enough, you believe it. I feel like that's what she did. Yeah.
We're going to find you. The highest peak on one of the graphs we looked at was the one that occurred right at the end, where she refers to the killer being out there and that you better watch it because they're going to find him. And that showed a peak that was a strong indicator that she didn't wholly believe what she was saying.
In terms of the voice stress analyzer, if someone is stressed, as anyone who has lost a child would be, would that not affect the results?
Not necessarily, because extreme emotion is going to be there whether they're saying something that they believe or something that they're trying to be deceptive about. And what we measure is the difference between the two.
Who killed John Bonet may forever remain a mystery. Did her parents have a part in it? Only
I don't think they did. I don't see them doing that. I just don't. Wasn't she just absolutely beautiful?
She was beautiful. And the sensationalism around what Toxic said, I kind of wanted to hit on that for a second before we got too far.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give a concept here and see if we can all follow along. So think of it this way. As adults, we have life experiences that shape how we perceive the world, including what we see and interpret, right? So our understanding of relationships and social cues, the way we see media, the way we pick up all of the nuances that children might not recognize.
Right.
So when you're watching a scene in a movie that you might notice a subtle undertone or implication that it's sexual in nature.
Yep.
But the kids aren't to that developmental stage, and so they lack that context, so they don't have that frame of reference that we do.
Right.
So it's not just about innocence. It's about a developmental difference in the way we process information. So when we look at a child who was put into a place where she's a beauty pageant kid, right? So automatically the sensationalism behind that is, well, her mom's making her do it. She didn't like doing what she was doing. Her dad must be sexually abusing her. I'm sorry if I don't want to get you demonetized. He could be, doing things to her that shouldn't be done to a child. We see that from a point of view that's like, it's just not, from everything that I can read, it's just not founded that there's no credible evidence to support that she was engaged in inappropriate behavior to herself. They can't, there might be some, like she said, there's somebody out there talking crap about it and saying, oh, she was this, that, and the other. But that to be said, the autopsy report did reveal that she did have signs of SA, which is one of the most debated aspects of the case, because if it was consistent with actual penetration, it was unclear whether it occurred before or after her death. So we just don't know. That's where it leads to the speculation about being a suspect outside of the house, or whether it was a motive for somebody inside the house she was getting old enough to start talking about it and start telling people about it. There's just so many aspects of the case, but there just wasn't anything founded on outside of just us being adults and saying, okay, she was a beauty pageant kid. We see things as sexual in nature when a child doesn't see it that way. That's how a lot of things happen when a 2-year-old accuses an older person in their family of abusing them in a sexual manner. It's not that, oh, he picked me up by my diaper, he touched me there, and we as an adult, we run with that and take them to the psychologist and go, hey, this is what happened that one day when he was picking her up by her diaper, and now look what he's done to my kid. That's not always the case.
Right.
I know it's controversial what I'm saying. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, but she was a child. She was beautiful. She was also well beyond her years for her age, socially and in many aspects, because of the field of work she was in. She was a working child. And yes, they did use her and put makeup on her, and it did put her in a way that on the outlying side of it, she didn't realize that that's what it looked like. But to a lot of men who enjoy watching that in younger, I'm trying to not say the word, but the guys that are peas will be looking at this child as a sexual way, and I don't necessarily look at it that way. And a lot of the people that are in this,
like while there might be chobos out there looking at beauty pageants for that reason, the children that are involved and the parents that are letting their children do it are not necessarily involved in it for that reason, like to sexualize their child is like what you're saying, right? And they don't see it that way, and of course the child doesn't. I don't think that, if Toxic said that her medical history before her death said her death, no signs of SA occurred. So
I did never see anything on her medical history. The only thing I saw was the autopsy results. I have not delved into her medical history. Did her parents give that out, or it was just something at that time? I guess HIPAA didn't, it's not like it was now. If you can't go back even in my death and look at my medical history if it's not released. So I don't know about that. It's something I'd have to look up and investigate. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think that it happened during the death or shortly thereafter, if I had to guess. And you're accurate, because I was watching, I don't know, it was a short of a little rabbit cartoon, some kind of Disney movie, and the rabbit was really worn out, and it had a sexual reference to it, but kids don't pick up on it. It's in movies all the time. Like Mona, there's lots of kids movie that'll make a reference like that, and the kids don't pick up on it because they're not in that mind state yet to understand it, and it's more for the parents to laugh at than it is for the child to get. So you're accurate in what you're saying.
Then the impact of sensationalism, it still happens, but it was happening then. The way her death was covered in the media was what was fueling the sensationalism at that time and all the conspiracy theories that happened around her case. The focus on her being a beauty pageant child and the stereotypes and the sensational reports about that type of behavior in the public is what gave a lot of misconception, distorted the facts in the case. That's
Right.
just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it, you know, and then over time, the false and exaggerated narratives that they had are going to lead to a skewed perception of the way we look at the case and the victim now. And it overshadows the focus on all the evidence in the case because this is what we're looking at. See her face right there? That's what we see. We see this beautiful little girl, and then we've forgotten to focus on the dirty, nasty side of the fact that this child is gone and this is what happened to her. And it's just because of the sensationalism, and we don't want to see the dirty, nasty side. This is what they portray on Fox 5 at that time. Look at this pretty little girl.
Yeah.
Just a theory.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with what you've been saying. 100%. Yeah. And unfortunately, beauty pageants and the child dancers are portrayed in ways that some people are not looking at them for all the right reasons, and that's sad because the child is just doing it to have fun and to feel pretty and all of that. So,
you know, and if you look at it in the Madeline Soto case, all of that stuff that she was going through started happening to her at a very, very young age. And by the time she was old enough to understand that it might be, they didn't get along, but she didn't really understand that it was wrong. It was just a part of her life. That's the way she was groomed. That's the way she was raised. Beauty pageant kids are groomed to that, not in the same degree sexually, but I'm saying they're groomed in a way that we make it okay. I've never worn lipstick of that color in my life. It's a personal preference. But she at that age has already worn red lipstick for 2 years. You know, it's just
and that's a great way. That was a great case reference. You know, again with the Madeline Soto case, she didn't understand that it was wrong or know that anything was bad about it. But then I think when she finally figured out that, hey, this isn't right, and she told him, that's when he flipped out and did what he did to her.
Or she had been talking, you know, she had a crush and she liked somebody else, and she just, I'm going to tell somebody.
Right.
And then he's like, no, you're not, you know, and I'm not saying that that's what happened in this case, and I'm not even saying that's what happened in hers, but it's definitely a possibility. And if John Bonet was getting old enough for somebody to recognize that there might have been things that were different, if she was seen doing inappropriate things, they might not have been able to control the situation at that point. And so what do? You have to get rid of this situation.
Right, as in some type of pedo, not necessarily the parent.
No, I'm saying in general, anybody, whoever it was that would have possibly been doing these things to her, whoever, she would have told somebody somewhere, then they had to get rid of the problem. I'm not saying the parents, I'm not saying a pedo, I'm just saying whoever.
Yeah, if there was a report, if the doctor stated that there was no signs of SA, then I would think that it happened that night. But again, I mean, grooming and all of that, it takes place well before anything might ever be actually done. But yeah.
I always forget about that, overprotected. I always forget about the chances of her being with child and that being a motive. I do forget that in that case because I don't see it that way. I'd see it. I mean, I'm an adult and I don't see that as being a thing that would even be allowable. So my mind doesn't hardly comprehend that it would be a thing.
Yeah, that it's even a possibility. Yeah.
It sucks. Anyway, okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Sidebarred you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, the Madeline Soto case, it's a big possibility that she could have been with child, but it hasn't been clarified that she was, and so I try not to go down that road personally because I don't know who's watching. I wouldn't want, if it was my child and everybody on the internet was saying that about my child, I would be real freaking upset. Yeah.
Well, the only way to come out with that if it's HIPAA and children cannot consent. So the only person that would tell us would be her mother. So I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. We might hear about something at trial, but other than that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
She will ever know. Mary Garofalo, Fox News.
In 2001, the former housekeeper for the Ramseys told her side of the story.
John and Patsy Ramsey's former housekeeper may be able to publish a book on what she knows about the death of JonBenet Ramsey. Fox's Carol McKinley has more.
Linda Hoffman Pugh spent 8 hours in front of a Boulder County grand jury in January of 1999. She was an important witness because as the housekeeper, she knew a lot about the day-to-day life in the Ramsey household. This is what the grand jury wanted to know. They wanted to find out about JonBenet's relationship with her mother, about her bedwetting. They wanted to know about a Swiss Army knife found near JonBenet's body, which came from a hiding place. Hoffman Pugh told them about a blanket which was wrapped around JonBenet when she was found in the basement, a blanket which would have come from...
That's weird. I want to know what's going on with the Swiss Army knife. Tiana said, I think that's why I watch true crime. Sometimes my mind doesn't go there, but we need to be aware of those that do. Yeah, absolutely. The conversation in here today has been so nice. Thank you all so much for being so diverse and respectful. No better community. That's so sweet. I'm glad that we can talk about things that are sometimes hard to talk about and all still be respectful to each other's thoughts, opinions, and speculations. And I really appreciate that from you guys. Toxic said that won't come out until trial about whether Maddie was, yeah. I'm wondering if it will, like if they'll televise the trial considering the allegations of why it could have been done. I'm wondering if it'll be televised. I hope so. Profiting from a child's unaliving. Yeah, that's what it seemed like the housekeeper was about to do by writing a book. And the knife, they stated that there was a Swiss Army knife by her body that came from some kind of hiding place.
Yeah, that's what they said. It was near the body. It was noted by the investigators that it was like, that could have been what the weapon was. But then they started talking about it being a tool to actually get in without causing forced entry. So they call it a red herring. It's all speculative theory, obviously, but they think it was just included in the investigation as a red herring, an object that might be present but doesn't really have a connection to the crime. So it really doesn't get mentioned a whole lot.
Okay.
Because it was ruled out as the weapon. Because on the autopsy report, the possible weapon or tool that would have been used to like pry open or move objects aren't going to be in the autopsy report. So they just said it was, lack of direct connection to the crime.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those two coins sealed it. Yeah. As far as Madeline case, those two coins are weird. Kara said, I watch true crime because sometimes most evil person is someone who is sitting at your table and you'll never know. Yeah. It's good to be aware.
From a tiny upstairs dryer. This is information, Hoffman Pugh says, only a Ramsey family member would know.
What they stated was the blanket she was found wrapped in came from a tiny upstairs dryer, and that was something only the family would have known about.
After a full day of questioning centering on Patsy Ramsey and her daughter JonBenet, Hoffman Pugh was convinced her former employee was the target.
I think that maybe Patsy had multiple personalities. I saw that in her one day, and I think that she may have gotten upset with JonBenet for some reason, and she may have hit her and not meant to hurt her. I don't think she meant to hurt JonBenet. I think it was an accident, and then it just continued from there.
Federal Judge Wiley Daniels said the former housekeeper's First Amendment rights would be violated if she were silenced by grand jury secrecy laws. Hoffman Pugh plans to write a book about her experiences, and now
I don't know if you noticed that picture of her. I'll pull it up right there in that picture. She looks like a baby again. Like she looks like a baby and a child. She's not in all the makeup and as they've all portrayed her to be.
Now anyone who testified before the Ramsey grand jury can talk about it. We talked with Lynn Wood, the Ramseys attorney, who says he's happy about this ruling. He has another spin on it, though. He says that the truth will come out about the grand jury, that it didn't have enough evidence to indict his clients. By the way, John and Patsy Ramsey have always maintained they did not kill their daughter, JonBenet. In Denver, Carol McKinley, Fox News.
So, where is the case today? On November 21st, 2024, JonBenet's father talked to Good Day New York's Rosanna Scotto and Kurt Menefee. Here's what he had.
Okay, so this is gonna be what the father said here recently. I was wanting to go over that. I'm gonna let y'all know where to find that interview, and I will drop it in Discord if you want to hear what the dad's thoughts and theories and opinions are, because I'm probably gonna have to go after this. I've got a lot of stuff to get ready for the craft fair tomorrow. I will not be live tomorrow, by the way. I'm gonna try to get a video done, but I don't know if I'll have time. So if I get the video done, I'll try to have it where it premieres at 1:30 tomorrow. If I don't, I might be able to come live later in the afternoon or evening. I will definitely let you guys know.
He had to say.
December 26, 1996, just hours after her family celebrated Christmas, the mother of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey called police to report that her daughter was missing. Soon after, JonBenet's body would be discovered by her dad in the basement of their home. She was sexually assaulted, brutally murdered. The case turned into a national obsession. Everybody wanted to know who killed JonBenet.
Here we are 28 years later. The murder still remains unsolved, and now a new docuseries looks at the case from a new perspective. Cold Case. Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey investigates the mishandling of the case by law enforcement and the media. Joining us right now is Emmy-winning director Joe Berlinger and John Ramsey, JonBenet's father. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'll start with you first, John.
Look at her dad now. My goodness. It's been so long.
28 years after the tragedy, what made you want to revisit it?
Well, I've never left it. We knew pretty immediately that small town police department didn't even have a homicide department
in Boulder,
Colorado. And so our effort really became get help, and they refused help. And they've refused help for 25 years. So that's been a passion of mine.
Why? Why refuse the help? Kara pointed out that the housekeeper was a former housekeeper, so she could be bitter. And Toxic said she's full of crap, I think. I don't think former employees are always credible. It needs to be looked into how they were let go or if they quit and why. Yes. Seems like her husband was shady. Former maid? Maybe.
To get the police to do their job, frankly. And that's probably why I would do an interview like this, is keep pressure on the police. And I think we're making some progress. They seem to have been cleaning house lately. A Citizens Review Board recommended termination of 5 of their detectives for poor investigative techniques, performance, one of which was the guy that was our detective. He was more of a roadblock than a helper. And they brought in a new chief from out.
So if they're just now getting rid of that one detective that was a detective way back then, I mean, dang, how long has he been having questionable investigative tactics? If it's like 30 years later? Goodness.
Outside the system, which was huge in our book. So we're hoping the new chief will change the culture and accept help. Lots of help has been offered. Federal government, the FBI, cutting edge DNA labs would like to help if they can. The police have to ask them. That's the way our system works. It's really
and again, that goes back to what Hio was saying, about, it could be that there's such a little amount of DNA they don't want to risk possibly contaminating it or losing what they have left and not getting an accurate result. And I can understand and respect that. But if you're not going to do that, we need to be figuring something else out, because this case needs to be solved.
a screwy system.
Joe, you've done so many investigative documentaries, and we talked about winning Emmy Awards. What brought you to this case? Because if we go back to 1996 or the early 2000s, a lot of people believed then that somehow the family was involved in her killing.
Yeah. Well, the number one reason I wanted to revisit the case is I believe the case can be solved. There's DNA testing that has to happen. Old items that were tested need to be retested. Technology has gone a long way. Certain items went to the crime lab that were never tested, but the most important DNA test that needs to happen, and we don't understand the intransigence of the Boulder Police Department. They say they're working on it, but you know, it's been a long time, is there is a DNA sample in this case where the blood of John's daughter was mixed with a unidentified foreign male person, and there is a mixed sample of DNA. DNA technology now is so sophisticated that it can be separated and a new profile created. And that profile can be used for standard DNA testing and also genealogical DNA testing.
That definitely needs to be retested. Absolutely. We need to retest that if we know that we're not going to risk losing all the DNA.
3andMe family DNA, that has been such an amazing tool recently in a lot of cold cases.
So you can't get that evidence back and do your own testing?
Well, you know, no. That is kind of the last straw attempt if we can't get the police to do it. I think we're making some progress, but we don't know for sure.
What has it been like for you and your family? I know your wife passed. To live under this cloud of suspicion.
Well, Patsy said it well early on. I said, look, I can't be hurt anymore that I've been hurt by the loss of my child. These accusations and craziness that was going on in the media, and then the police were feeding that, quite frankly. Said, it doesn't matter. I'm lost.
Who do you think did it?
He's being humble.
I hate that the wife is now gone and will never have an answer as to who did this to her child, and they never got it answered. I hope that they can get it answered by the time before John passes and goes on to be with his family in heaven. Hey, me passenger 33, thank you so much for being here, lovely.
Humble. Right. This is the most brutalized family in American history, as far as I'm concerned. Super irresponsible, tunnel vision police force accusing this family of a crime that, if you look at the autopsy report, it's just not plausible that it was committed in the way the police thought. And they were feeding stories to the press that were false or partially false, and the press just ran with it, and it just created a tsunami of suspicion against these people.
So who did it?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. The problem is there is bad DNA in this case.
What kind of freaking insensitive question?
Right.
She just blurted it out there like, who did it? If we effing freaking knew, do you think we'd be sitting right here?
Right. Yeah. I found
Sorry.
that insensitive as well. No, you're good, because that is insensitive.
It is. It's big and bold. Cold case. Who did what to my daughter? And you're just like, well, who did it? Well,
yeah.
Why don't you tell me, dummy?
Yeah, some of these news stations and channels and interviewers are like so insensitive.
I just grew up with a different level of respect, I guess. And even then, the media, like, I don't understand where he's saying that the police, like, push the narratives. I don't know. Maybe I have to go back. And of course, we're going to watch the documentary at some point this weekend. But I just don't remember the police pushing the narrative. I just don't remember. So if they did, I don't know how.
Yeah, I'm assuming that by coming out and saying they were suspicious of the parents and that they were the prime suspects in the beginning, that's the media pushing that narrative. If I had to guess, but I don't know. I need to watch the documentary as well.
That is such an excellent question, Passenger 33. I have no idea. What a good question.
Yeah, Passenger 33 says, have they ever looked into the other parents of the baby beauty queens? That is a good question. I wonder if they did. Kara said, I think it's because I have the special character O above the A. And then Toxic said, wouldn't it be a twist if it was the ex housekeeper? It would. It is male DNA, I do believe. And then Darlene says, you're right. The media and journalists can be awful. Yeah, they can. Like she said, like Hio said, I don't understand why you would ask somebody that. It's just ridiculous.
Everyone who was looked at as a suspect originally was dismissed off of bad DNA. We need to look at everybody again, and we need DNA. That is really the main reason we're doing this.
I want to take a quick look at a piece from the clip from the show.
You muted, love?
I sure was. I said that's questionable to me, because if you're already saying that right off the bat, you're targeting the parents, and then you're not looking into other suspects and going down those avenues, which is going to botch the case as well.
Yeah, if they were doing that, then yeah, they were definitely pushing the narrative, because I have no idea. I read that question that Melissa said, if John hadn't carried her body upstairs, the DNA wouldn't have been contaminated. The little tiny bit of the documentary that I did watch, just because I wanted to wait for everybody else, he did reference that, and he did say that, that everybody, he's just like, I'm not going to talk about this again after all these years. But basically, I mean, I think maybe he was in shock. I mean, if it was, I'm going to get personal for just a second, like very, very personal. Myself, I have found my child deceased in my home.
Oh God.
And you do not realize the scope of the situation or the magnitude of your own thought process of what you would do until you walk in and find one of your children that you have given birth to passed away in your home. So to say, I wouldn't ever want to judge this man for going over to that child and carrying her upstairs, regardless of whether, because if I had seen that, I would have unwrapped whatever it was around her neck, which is what he did do, and carried her upstairs. Was there any way to save her? Sometimes the ambulance doesn't get there for 10 minutes. Do we do CPR? You put your mouth, at that time it was very much mouth to mouth resuscitation. You just don't realize how you're going to react when your body goes into that. It's just natural. You just go into some kind of a mode. I can't tell you exactly. I mean, I picked my child up before the ambulance got there. I had to do so many things to try to wake my child up and to try to get him back to me, and just, pray into whatever higher power exists in the world that he would come back to me. So I just never ever want to be a judge of a parent on their reaction to how they treat their children, and everybody has a different love and a different level of care, for their children. So if they didn't do it, it was the hardest day of his life, and he's been reliving that for 30 years.
Yeah, that's why, like, if police are there, they hold the parents back, kick it and scream it, because I don't think anybody could see something like that and not try to do something or save them. Thank you for being here, sweet Melissa. If we're looking at it from a police perspective, if he hadn't carried her upstairs, the DNA probably would not have been contaminated. If we're looking at it in a investigative perspective, but I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. I think most of us would as parents if we found something like that. I'm sorry that happened to you, Hio. I don't think that it is possible to have given to find a child, like any child, much less your own child, and not try to do something, carry them up, take the thing,
And I'm going to tell you a secret that happened in 1999 to me, and then it happened again in 2001.
Oh my God.
It happened to me twice. So yeah, I'm the passion that I have about the babies. Now you kind of know where that comes from, because I will cut you. I will cut you over the babies. I will cut you. But yeah not physically violent, but But that's, one day I'll go over my story and what happened with all of that. But basically, the long and short of it is the passion that I carry for the missing children and the small, like this JonBenet Ramsey, like, that just, there was no need for this. There was nothing that she could have done that made her lose value. Like her life, there's nothing she could have done in the years that she had where she deserved to be blunt force trauma and essayed and asphyxiated to that. It was just vile, so vile. And to think that a parent did that, there are lots of things now where parents are doing things to their children. I just couldn't even fathom back then that was a thing. Like I learned so much every day we're in true crime. And it's it's gruesome, it's bad, it's nasty, it's dirty.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. And it is a horrible thing. Hey, Abellis, thank you so much for being here. I'm about to have to go. I think we got a couple more minutes of this, and then I've got to go finish the stuff for the craft fair. I won't be here tomorrow, just by the way. I'm going to try to put a video out, but if not, I might be able to come tomorrow evening.
All right, and so you can see from this clip, it's a lot of people did, I'll say it that way, right there with the police department.
Sure.
The family's involved in this somehow from day one.
Yep.
You've lived under this cloud for almost 30 years now. Are you looking for absolution from this? Even if the murder doesn't get solved, do you think that this will help us?
It doesn't matter to my life. Even if the murderer is caught, convicted, confessed, there's still going to be 5 or 10% of people out there. Nah, I don't believe that. It was the dad. That's just life. We were overwhelmed by.
Unfortunately, that is life. Parents are always looked at as possible suspects because, but again, statistically, it's usually somebody close to the child that does it.
People's compassion for us. People would stop us on the street. Are you John and Patsy? Yeah. I just want to give you a hug. I'm so sorry for what's being said about you and done about you. That happened all the time. People would ask, well, how is it to be out in public? You're this accused child killer. I said, it's wonderful. People are not stupid. They know we're being mistreated, misaccused. They're wonderful to us.
I'm glad to hear that. There's a lot of people who don't get the same respect.
And made me a more compassionate person too. Everybody's carrying a burden in life. That's just life. And made me more compassionate to realize that, people I talk to that I don't even know, there's more to their life than I think. And so
I feel that so much.
Media was horrible. The police were horrible. And
sorry, love.
No, you're fine. I feel that so much. I feel what he
police
said.
were feeding the media. Their whole strategy.
Goodness, I'm so sorry. You were saying you feel that so much.
What he said about having, it's just life. It's one of those things you go through, right? Like you can't change things. You can't cry over spilled milk, and it makes somebody stronger. You have to just keep on going, right? Everybody deals with death. We're born knowing that everybody's going to die. So it's not a surprise. It's just the surprise is how selfish we are when the people we love the most leave us, right?
Right.
And so you either get stronger or you succumb to the dark side. But he made himself stronger. He kept on going. No matter what, he's lost his wife, he's lost 2 of his children, he lost his wife, then his daughter, and then another 2 children. So it's just him and 2 boys at 80. It's like he's got nobody to take care of him, nothing. He just has to be strong. I just feel that so much.
Yeah. I don't know if I could. It's hard. I have so much respect for you and him and everybody else.
Well, I'm going to jump down. I'm going to say what I want to say here, and then I'm going to leave you. First of all, I am so proud of your channel and your growth. I am so excited to be here with you and always so happy about the context and the debates in the channel. It really makes me happy. So this is probably the most complex case besides Madeline Soto that I think you've covered, and I really enjoyed that debate, and it's going to keep being a puzzle until they figure it out, right? But
Yeah.
I just hope that everybody keeps her memory alive through conjecture, not through conjecture. I'm sorry, let me say that again. I don't want them to keep it alive through conjecture, but maybe through compassion, and then supporting, the efforts to figure out who did this to her, and figure out what's, respecting the impact of the case and then all of the people that were affected by it. So instead of conjecture is what I meant to say.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm really proud of you. You're doing really good, and Zio has a lot of videos out on her channel too. And as you can see, she's got some great theories and opinions and thoughts on things. So please go check her out. And thank you for coming up and sharing your thoughts on this.
Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Looking forward to Christmas. I'll see you guys again soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
We'll do this. We got 1 minute and 35 seconds left, and then I'm gonna have to go. She has a great channel though, and she, as you can tell, she's very knowledgeable. So please go check her out.
Of the case, we were told this by the DA. They didn't think you acted right that morning, which I'm not sure how you're supposed to act. And they're going to bring intense pressure on both of Patsy and I, so that the innocent one will turn the guilty one. And they just were concluded. They concluded on day one that it was the parents. It's always the parents.
And thank you, Zio, for the comment. I'm sorry, I was listening to you and I forgot
Easy case to solve.
to say thank you so much for the comment. That was super sweet. Abellis said, you guys are both amazing. Thank you, Abellis. And Jenny says she loves her channel. She does have a really good channel.
Well, we just got to figure out which one. And so their whole strategy was to release misleading information and, wink, wink accusations, and the media ran with it. And so it didn't work. I mean, yes, they did convince most of the country that we were guilty, but they couldn't arrest us.
Right.
Well, because they had the evidence was contrary to that conclusion.
We wish you peace in your life, because
Thank
I'm
you.
sure living with this has got to be a very heavy burden.
Well,
I hope he has peace too. And as always, like I always say, please remember all the victims in this case and all the other ones.
People have been wonderful, and I appreciate being on a show like this to keep pressure on the police to do their damn job.
John Ramsey and Joe Berlinger.
It says there have been many twists, turns, and accusations in the John Bonet unaliving investigation. That's probably going to be it for the video. Patsy Ramsey maintained her innocence up to the day she succumbed to cancer in 2006. John and Burke Ramsey, along with others that have been accused, continue to maintain their innocence. The John Bonet unaliving case remains unsolved. And that's the end of that. Please remember, Basil is right here laying with me. He was chewing on paper earlier. I was trying to make some labels for my chapstick, and I had to print it out on regular paper before I printed it out on sticker paper to cut out, and he was chewing my paper labels. I wanted to tell you guys, I saw a video today, and it was talking about my state, about North Carolina, and the people in the mountains. The video basically stated, I don't know if you know, they got hit by a hurricane, and people are trying to send them stuff and food and clothes and things like that. And the FEMA and things like that are basically, from what I understand, they're taking it, and it's been said they're putting it up and not giving it out. Whether that's true, I don't know. I will leave what I think about that. I will keep that to myself. But I do know that people have also tried to get RVs up there and tiny homes, because people are in tents and they're freezing to death. There has been an infant that has passed away already from freezing temperatures, because they're all in tents. The county said that they cannot have RVs and tiny homes there. They will not let them do it. And so instead, from what I understand, they're being left in tents to basically freeze and die. So I'm going to make a community post, and I'm going to share the video. In the video, these ladies give information on a church in the area that has Amazon wish list up for these people. And they're asking for things like heaters and jackets and socks and things to stay warm. And I know this is a season of thinking about other people, especially with Thanksgiving yesterday. So I want to share that information with you. So if you are thinking of giving, I just wanted you to know there's an option out there. There's people out there that I know of in my state that need the help. I'm going to do what I can to donate to them as well. And again, just look for that community post. As soon as I can get the video from my husband, I will post, and it will have the information in there of where you can go. So that you can, or the people you can contact to make sure these people that are in need actually get the products. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Kara says that it's true. She said that she was impacted horribly by Milton and Helen, and FEMA denied her. Yes, FEMA is giving out $750 for a whole entire family that lost everything, and some people are not even approved for it. Zio said, my mother works for FEMA, and I'm going to get confirmation on some of this. I can't imagine that is 100% factual, but I'm definitely not going to be okay if it is. I will keep y'all updated with what I find. Please do. And I'm going to, like I said, put the information in a community post of what I've heard about it. I might have said FEMA. It could have been Red Cross. I don't know. I get some of those confused or whatever sometimes. Jenny said, thank you everyone for your support. Yes, prayers for those. Yes, and if you can't help by sending money or doing anything, prayers help. They do. They really do. Yes, and with that, I'm gonna go. But I agree with Bad Girl. Y'all, please try to stay safe out there. And again, I'm so thankful for y'all that y'all are come here to hang out with us every day. I do appreciate you guys so much, and I hope you have a good day. I will try to come live later tomorrow if I don't put a video out. If not, I will see you guys Sunday. Have the best day ever. Bye.